Yeah, working.
Did Allison? Last night we were recording. We were giving away all the names of the tires. Did Allison come down on you today for that?
Oh, yeah.
Ah,
She's like, don't give away any more of our names. Just kidding, but no.
I see that live just went live up there. So I don't know if it missed the first 30. Anyway, this is episode 215. As you can see from the scrolling ticker below. If you have a question, drop them in the comments and we'll flash them up on the screen. If you have anything football related, that'd be good for me. Video game, wrestling. Jason's here for all the RC.
Yeah. So what? I don't want to start on wrestling. I was going to bring up something about wrestling, but we won't do that first.
All right.
Because I listen to some of those wrestling podcasts too, and I'll watch.
Yes, you do.
I listen to them on YouTube, during the day, and it's actually a lot of fun listening to that stuff. It gets there. There's an era window that I kind of know what's going on from the 80s and the early 90s because that's when I watched. But yeah, that was a fun. It's fun to listen to some of that stuff and behind, like you talked about Jim Cornette.
Yeah.
Listening to him, he's funny. And
Bruce Pritchard's your favorite, right?
I like Bruce. Yeah.
Something to wrestle with.
And Bischoff, we were listening to Bischoff's for a while.
83 weeks.
Yeah, it's good stuff too.
Yeah. Well, we'll get off that.
Yeah.
Though there is a pay-per-view this weekend, but we'll talk about that later on. So
somebody will ask about that.
Yeah, somebody.
Yes, I made a little. I got my little agenda here. Sorry, it's hard to see.
Doing the whole green screen effect again.
Yeah. But yeah, we had a lot happen in the last couple weeks, so I made a couple notes. We had to. We ended up having to cancel our INS race, which was going to be at Hobby Action in Arizona. And we had Larry on the show. We were talking about how we were going to do the race, and everything was looking good and looking up, and we had a good plan there. Split schedule, and then their government kind of changed some of their guidelines in Arizona. And me and Larry and I talked, and we just kind of decided that it probably just wasn't going to work. So. And he wanted to be safe, and I agree. It was a good idea. And he's like, we'll race another day, and he's right. So it was unfortunate. I thought we had a good plan kind of going, and we were going to try it with this alternate schedule, kind of a split schedule.
Yeah, that was going to be. I was interested in see how that worked.
Yeah, we had the boys. Going to be ready out there and racing, rocking and rolling. So, but yeah, now what's funny is the boys, Mayfield, Spencer, and Jackson, and the guys that race with us, they headed out to California this weekend for the JBRL. They're gonna have at Thunder Alley. And Thunder Alley is just such a cool track in California. This is for 8 scale, JBRL 8 scale. So they're heading out for that. So they're there now. They're set up. Spencer's dad's already sending me photos. Let's check them out here. I don't know what I'm going to do with... I got 4 more pictures of Spencer. But the dads are proud, aren't they?
Yeah.
Dads are proud. So, yeah, disappointing that we had to cancel our race. It would have been this weekend, actually. And so they're heading out to the JBRL instead, running some 8 scale, and it's actually should be good. They're going to run the track dry there. At least that's what they're saying. So it's hot. So it's hot at the JBRL. So, and they're going to run the track dry. So the video should be awesome because the guys are going to be hauling butt on that track. Usually when they run a track dry in California and they can kind of sweep it or blow it off and it's got a groove, man, they get down on that surface.
Charlie Mack says, I hope we can still run the ENATs.
Yeah, that was one that they kind of postponed there at Flowwood. Yeah, I was looking forward to going back to Flowwood because we haven't been there since one of our last Clash races was there. Was probably it was either 2012 or 2013. I think was our last time we went. Or I went to Flowwood. Dave Duncan was there several other times. Maybe Paul went once for one of their electric events or one of their July events. But yeah, looking forward to getting back over there to Flowwood, Mississippi.
And Justin, don't get me started on that. Bluestones. I'm gonna go nut. I'll just die laughing the whole time again.
Yeah. That was a good one.
Yeah. Hope it does come true though.
So we had a couple of events that I wrote down here that have happened since our last podcast, which one of them was the off-road shootout, which what this is Jimmy Babcock for many years had the hot rod hobbies. We used to call it the hot rod shootout. He changed his name a couple times to like off-road shootout and hot rod off-road shootout and short course spectacular. He threw all kinds of names on it, but it was really the hot rod shootout, and he just stopped. They stopped getting a good turnout for the race. There was a time where they would get 400 plus there, and this was in Saugus, California, is where the race was at his outdoor track, and the guys loved that race. They loved the hot rod shootout, and as indoor racing just started getting more and more popular for some reason, the turnout was deteriorating. There was some events around it, which was causing maybe a little bit, but I mean, the guys that were still going, that were running our race, were still trying to do the shootout too. So, but what he decided to do is change the date a little bit, and then he went indoors with the shootout. So last year was the first one. They ran in Bakersfield at Rain Man's track in Bakersfield, California, and last year first one indoors, and then this year they ran it indoors. And Yokomo really had a great race there. I know Joe Pillars talked that he really was kind of wanting to get a lot of the team guys from that general area over to the shootout in Bakersfield, and they did a good job. Mayfield ended up TQing and winning 2-wheel and 4-wheel. Those are the classes he ran, and Brock Champlin did really good for Associated and for us. Yeah. And then Cavallari did well in 4-wheel. I think he got second in 4-wheel. Ron Duvall did really well also running the Associated stuff. Cav was running his S-Work stuff. And so he did good in 4-wheel with his S-Works. 2-wheel, I think he got maybe fourth or fifth, which wasn't too bad. But his 4-wheel was running good. A lot of people were kind of curious about that, how that's been going. And Brock was really fast individual lap time wise. He was, as quick as Mayfield. I think in the lap times, pretty close. But Ryan just a little more, I think, driving main event savvy, finishing off those qualifiers and main events with no crashes. So he won, I think, in 2 straight mains. Didn't have to go to a third main. So he was pretty happy about the trip.
Hey, Danny.
So the off-road shootout, and then we had Matt Gonzalez won. Matthew, he won one of the classes. I want to say he won 17.5 2-wheel. I think Joe Pillars won 13.5 truck and 13.5 4-wheel, I think. And another driver of ours won the stock truck 17.5 class. So we had a really good race there, and so did Yokomo. A lot of results. And I was watching that online a little bit, watching the scoring during that weekend. That was really neat. Have you seen my TLR 8XT? No?
I haven't.
I guess you'll have to put up a photo. Uh-oh.
Oh, did I order a DR10 team car?
Yeah, that's one of the new things that's Associated released today. I was just thinking yesterday, I was just like, man, is anybody on the AE social media page? Like, this thing's been pretty dry, nothing going on. And all of a sudden today, boom, DR10, which is the drag car now as a kit form.
Oh, okay.
So they've actually had two different RTRs that come out, one with an orange body, one with a green body. We did an unboxing on the orange body one. It was pretty fun. And then I never did one of those unboxing videos before, and that's actually, it's a little nerve-wracking in a way, because once you cut the tape of the box, you can't do it again. So it's like,
right. Yeah.
And then you're worried that there might be something wrong, when you're working on it, or
it's too much pressure.
Actually, but it went well. It was fun.
A lot of anxiety build up there.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, today they came out with the kit version. So now you can essentially get, the car, and it doesn't come with all the electronics, so you can use your own electronics. A little more of a racer kit.
Wow.
That's what Paul's alluding to. So yeah, the off-road shootout, that went well.
So do I need to order that, or is that just going to be sent to me?
You might have to. We got Sean Ireland coming on the show, and he's the guy that you should ask.
Oh, all right.
That would be the guy to ask.
Okay.
He's your guy there. And look at this. Eduardo Rossi coming in. Thanks.
Class act in the hobby. What about me?
Maybe it's just understood.
In the podcasting industry, I'm a class act.
Yep. That would be correct. So then Paul and I went to... Oh, man.
Well, you're getting compliments left and right here. He's a god. You're a god.
A god, not the god. What movie was that? Was that Ghostbusters? Bill Murray said that.
I think you're right.
So
Paul, I haven't seen that movie since it came out.
Oh, it's great.
I should revisit that.
It's a great movie. Paul and I went to the Force Race, which is Florida's state level series for 8-scale buggy racing. Had the race up at South Side in Lake City, so Paul and I cruised up there. We didn't do any racing ourselves. We just kind of wanted to set up and just kind of get away to the track and hang out with the guys and watch some racing. And we were watching the weather. We were watching the heat index. It was like, okay, it's time for a drink run. Okay, it's time. Let's go check into the hotel now. Let's get the AC running, because it was brutally hot out there. So yeah, so we went out there, the Force Race, and Lake City. That's the track where they had the Roar Nationals a couple, I guess maybe 2 years ago.
Wait, where was this?
South Side Raceway, which is in Lake City, Florida.
Okay.
It's in a park. It's very like Tampa Lake Park-esque in a way, I guess. But I like it. I like going there. And they hadn't raced in 4 months. They hadn't raced in 4 months at that track. So it took Lance McDonald put in a lot of work, along with some of their track crew there, getting it ready to run. And it's hard to get started and motivated in this time of the year. And I think everybody was a little feisty at first, I think. But when the race settled in and the track got groomed up even more, it turned out to be a good race. And it started raining at the end of the second round of qualifying, and so Paul and I, we kind of packed our stuff up, and Lee Setzer and Julian Oliveras, and they kind of they stayed around, ran the mains. Lee Setzer ended up winning both Nitro Buggy and E-Buggy, the pro classes. We had a lot of success there. And Julian was really kind of owning the Nitro main. He was really running a fantastic race. Probably should have won, and just had a problem at like a ghost flame out in 8 scale. He just sometimes you never can explain it. And he flamed out. Lee went to the lead, and I think Julian got back to third. But yeah, it was disappointing for him. But good win for Lee. And then E Buggy I think went down in Lee's favor also. So he's been doing a lot of winning in Florida. I think over the years, in this area, um, there's been a lot of really good racers that have won a lot of races, and you think of like J.R. Mitch, and then Paul Wynn, myself, um, Damon Borkowitz when he was running a lot. He was starting to win quite a bit. Billy Easton lives here, but he's not really from here. But when he races, he's always one of the fastest guys. And now we got Lee and Julian, who uh, they're really they're really starting to take over, in this area, and they're becoming really tough to beat in 10 scale and in 8 scale. Uh, and they're also the right age. I want to say they're 20, 19, 20, right around there.
I don't like them already. I'm becoming that bitter old man.
Stay off my lawn. What is it? Something like that.
Yeah, get off my yard. I see these young kids. I'm getting all mad at them.
Julian, to be honest, I can't remember what tire he was on in the main. Maybe he ran Stalkers. He might have ran Stalkers. I know Lee ran Cosmos in the main. I know that. I think he ran Cosmos and
Paul Wynn's saying green Stalkers.
So there you go. Yeah. So yeah. I thought he ran Stalkers, and then Lee ran the Cosmos, which is good. And
Zachary will get to that question.
So yeah, we've been kind of bumping around. We've been doing a lot of Florida racing between the Super Cups, the Force Series. The guys up in Georgia have had some killer races on the SOS. They got a series there called SOS. They had a fantastic turnout a couple weeks ago. So I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good race, and just to really have that many people out there. Paul and I were talking about it. We're like, everyone's always talking about getting more people involved in RC and doing this and that, and where I'm out there looking at everybody racing, and I'm thinking, I'm really happy with all the people that we have that do it and are committed to it, because you have to be so committed to go out there. I mean, you're in Florida in the summer in July, and
brutal.
It is brutal out there. It's like, it's so brutal, and guys are just loving it. They can't wait to get on the track. They can't wait to race, and you have to be hardcore. You have to be a diehard to really have that much commitment.
And a little bit of crazy.
Yeah, then you got to be a little bit crazy, and those are our guys. And not everybody's prepared to do that. Not everyone, they might, watch a video on YouTube and think it's cool or whatever, but you put them out there with the equipment in the middle of the summer in Florida and say, hey, we're having fun. They're probably like, I don't know. And but you got to be dedicated, and you got to love the cars and the wrenching, and then the people. You got to kind of get involved with the people, and there's a little bit of fun that goes on with that, seeing guys, and so it's a good race. The Force. We'll check that off the list.
Yeah, we got some random questions in here also. I'll put those up a little bit later.
And then Sunday, that Sunday after the Force race, we went up. Allison and I went up and visited the RCDRL drag racing, which is one of the leagues. RCDRL, it's called in there. had their very first Florida race at Don Garlett's Drag Racing Museum in Ocala, and AJ raced out there along with Dustin Spallone and many other guys that we know from off-road or on-road racing. And it's actually really cool when I went out there, and at first you're kind of like, do I know some of these people? And then you start seeing people you recognize that raced before. I had a guy say, hey, I raced with you at Gore back in the 90s in Orlando. And
Wow.
I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
Damn.
And I know as soon as Paul got out there, he came out there, and Paul gets out there, and everybody knows him from an on-road race or an off-road race. And so you see these, we have a lot of RC guys over the years, and they kind of everybody, you shift in your priorities or what you think it's fun at the time. And they're like, at some time they're running off-road, sometimes they're running on-road, then they're drag racing, then they're racing oval or dirt oval. And so you start to see similar people. But the drag race was good. They had 80, I want to say it was 82 entries for the drag race. Writing that down. 82 entries for the very first RC DRL out there at Garlett's Museum. So I thought that was good. They had many classes that I was like blown away at the speed. They had top fuel. They had funny car, pro something.
You're still learning all the drag.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, it's tough classes. Because I've seen them all, but we're following the Street Eliminator trend, but we're out there supporting that. But you start to see these other ones, and right away you're just like, man, this one's cool too. So you know what? The more I go to this stuff, whether it's dirt oval, whether it's monster trucks, drag racing, you can kind of fall in love with any of these classes. And AJ's kind of had that happen a little bit. He raced a little oval, he kind of fell in love with that. Then it's all of a sudden he's drag racing, he's loving that. So it's like these guys are just raceaholics. So it's like you give them a car and you just tell them what to do with it, and they're like, I love this pro stock. Yeah. And then they had a Street Eliminator class, but then they also had, I think, Pro Street, and he can confirm, but on the RC DRL, they had Pro Street, which is the one AJ raced in. It was cool. So it took them a while to adjust to the track, and what's different about some of these. Look at this. It's finishing my third drag car. It's like, dang. Yeah, what's cool about some of this is the pro stock classes and like the top fuel. They run foam tires, so they're like truing a, that's like full, like old school, like,
yeah,
people still do
got
it.
The tire truer out.
yeah, they're tire truer. You shave them down. They get these big tires that look like this, they're like this big, but and then they true them down to what they need, and then they goop them up, and they run those things, and there's no, like, I noticed with those cars, there's no like, I'm going to feel this thing out on the starting line and roll into the throttle and see if it hooks up and goes. They just bury the trigger, and if it doesn't hook up, it's a disaster. And if it hooks
Wow.
up, it's amazing. So, and because you can't, like, one of the guys in I think the top fuel or the drag, he did 110 miles an hour on one of his passes, and the pro stock guys, Mike Ray, who's from Ocala, he was doing 102, 105 miles an hour with his pro stock. And when you're doing that in 132 feet, you don't just ease into the throttle at the line. Like, you just bury it, and the thing takes off like a missile, and you just hope it's going straight. Like,
pray for the best.
It's nuts. Like, you're sitting there, and I'm like, oh, these guys are coming up. I'm going to get in behind the cars. I'm not getting on the other side of the track. Like, I'm getting behind where the drivers are.
Right.
Like, when I did the videos, I was like, when AJ and them ran, I'm like, oh, I'll film this from anywhere. I'm not scared of the Street Eliminators. Which is because they're kind of big and bulky, and It's like they're not super fast, and but those cars, uh, especially the top fuel, like it looks like you're racing like a sword, like because
Jesus.
it's so long and it's just it's shaped like this in the front. It looks like you put one of those, you know, um, one of those big swords down and it just takes off and.
It goes right through somebody.
Oh yeah, I mean it's seriously they're fast. It's impressive. So they gave Don Garlits an award for allowing him to have a race and a race series out there. So that was pretty neat. I guess he came out. He lives there. Guy's 80. What is he? 82 years old, I think they said, and that's his museum property. And he's right now he's trying to attempt a record for an electric drag, or like an electric dragster. Yeah, there it is. 132 feet in 1.2 seconds. Yeah, so Don Garlis is attempting a record right now for an electric real drag car, and he had to go. They were telling us that he had to go back up to Gainesville, where they have the Gator Nationals, and reapply for his drag racing license. So, 82 years old, he had to go make a pass, and I want to say he went like 150 or 160 with his electric dragster, and he got his license again.
Wow.
So,
jeez.
Talk about guys that have no fear, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Over the years, it's just like once you just get, I guess you get used to doing something, becomes normal to you, and no matter what age, you feel good about doing it. So yeah, Don Garlits, RCDRL. Chop it up.
All right. I'll mark that down, Corey. I got people messaging me with names, so I'll put that to the list. Chop it up. Not bad, Corey. It's a lot. Hey, it's better than some of them that I got, but thanks for sending them in, though. I appreciate it. You got to come up with a name.
As good as Bluestone. So just to recap on our entries here, we had 100. I want to say it was 160 ish entries at that off-road shootout there in Bakersfield. At the Force race, the one Paul and I went to, there was 150 entries out there, which was good. So the racing is out there, even though we're kind of dodging this pandemic stuff a little, and we're going in and out of. You either have to wear a mask or you don't.
Good one, John. He's right.
Oh man,
it's a little different going live.
Getting locked up over here.
Yeah, that and normally when we're recording, we'll stop, take a break, go do something, come back. We got to go straight through.
Hammer through it.
And get disruptions.
So,
all right.
A couple other things I was going to mention, because when you were going through what we talked about on the last podcast, I was like, well, I mentioned some products on there, so I was like, well, I might as well do that now. We released the aluminum ride height gauge, the camber gauge, the RM squared, which is the Mayfield brand that we have. A lot of people think it's RM2, but it's actually RM squared because it stands for Ryan Mayfield Momentum. Is actually what the name is, because when I was working on this, my idea was when I watch him drive and I watch him race, that's how I feel like he's always has this insane amount of momentum going. And it's like, whether he's on the line of the track, off the line, he's just always keeping up the momentum. So anyway, Ryan Mayfield Momentum, this aluminum camber gauge, and we made it longer because the one we sell, the J Concepts one, is really made for 10 scale. It's kind of like this, and it has this arm on it. And we made the 8 scale one taller, so you can use it for 8 scale. So it was kind of cool. And we made it red, made it anodized red, which somebody commented somewhere, Matt Francis red, which
yeah, that's what I thought of right away when I saw it.
Yeah, because
Absolutely.
when Matt had some Trinity parts back in the day, his were red, Kinwald's were blue.
Yeah, you mean when I was delivering those, and he was like, what are these?"
What is this?
Yeah, put them on your car. Don't ask questions.
Yeah, there was a time that was a big thing to have.
So you said that. So it's momentum,
yeah, Ryan
right?
Mayfield momentum.
Violence, speed, momentum.
Hmm.
That's Dr. Disrespect.
Oh,
But
really?
anyway, yeah.
I don't know anything about that. The only
It's funny though that he has momentum in it, and you also think momentum, Mayfield.
Yeah.
And if we could have used that, it would have been great for Mayfield. Violence, speed, momentum. We can't do it though.
Okay.
Anyway,
So the other thing we released that's that regulator chassis kit for the Clodbuster, and the steering kit was pretty cool. We kind of put a lot of work into that during um, pandemic times, and we kind of went overboard with some of the things we did because we felt like we want to make a nice kit box, we want to make nice instructions, we wanted to have we want to fully model the vehicle into the computer, and just did a lot of extras that we had time because I was in town, no races going on. We kind of were able to take things to a little additional level. So that was fun. Got that out, and kind of a fun project, and it's working well.
so who
So
came up with the name
I think I did.
regulator? Okay.
That was my name. Sometimes I come up with these names while I'm typing it into Excel. I'll give it a part number, and then I get to the next line where you have to have a name, and then I start typing something because I'm like, well, I need a placeholder here, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, not too bad. That might stick.
Okay. I do like the box for the regulator. Looks
Thanks.
good.
Yeah, we worked on that. One of our guys, Morris, who was working hard on that graphic design, and we thought we messed it up one time. That was a bummer. We thought we made the box too small at one point. And so yeah, there's a lot of little things you can get into with this that you don't really realize, and you make a cool truck and then make the box too small to fit. So, but it ended up working out. But it was funny. Um, you're making sure all this other stuff is perfect, and then you're like, wait a second, does this fit in the box? And you're like, oh, okay.
Dope.
People asking us about releasing stuff for TLR cars. Oh, there's my pen. You got. We released some new turnbuckles for them. The fin style turnbuckles, which we've had for a while, for a lot of cars over the years. But these are the titanium. They're colored black. Look super trick. They're the 3.5 millimeter, which is what the TLR cars are. So we got the 22X4 covered, which is a new four-wheel. Regulators mount up. See, there you go.
Justin Jubert. Hey, Justin Jubert, watch this. You ready, Jubert? Bills Mafia. I like the Bills Mafia. I want to get up there one time and go through a table.
For the 22 5.0, we got the turnbuckles for it. Then we got a B6, T6, and SC6 servo horn. People have been asking of those for a while. Aluminum, pretty cool. Trick, chamfered, highlighted.
Trick.
Speed Shop t-shirt. We had this Morris design this thing a long time ago. Speed Shop. He was pushing the Speed Shop shirt on me, and I was just like, I don't know. And finally, we got into drag racing, and one day Allison's like, "Do you think we should have a T-shirt for some drag racing stuff?" And I'm like, we have the perfect shirt for this, the Speed Shop. So we got our Speed Shop shirt, and now that's out there, and we'll check that off the list. So that's our that's my sales pitch at the moment. We don't really do a lot of sales pitches, but that was one.
Here's a question for you, Jason.
Mm-hmm. Is the GNX body made to just drop right on SC SC chassis with stock SC spec arms. It's very close. That body's almost, I want to say it's right close to 12 inches wide. So it's close. We actually haven't done that though. We've only put it on the buggy arm cars, but we made it a little wider on purpose so that people could run a wider car if they wanted. It's something that we really need to make sure on that body that it fits the longer arms. But if you put drag racing wheels and tires on it with the longer arms, I believe that it does drop right on there. This is kind of a back and forth thing because when we started making these bodies, we made them to a width that we thought was going to be the right width, which was the buggy length arms. So we made our first couple bodies to that width. Then people were like, hey, I don't want it to be that narrow because I want to run it wide. I don't want to have to change my suspension to run it wide. So then we started making them wider. And then people are like, why'd you make it so wide? Like, well, it's because it fits the car with the longer arms. And they're like, so
Wow.
What we're in is we're in a time period where the class is just, it's so volatile in what's going on. Like, every week there's some guy with a new graphite kit car on the internet. And then there's, running different arms. So then there's the associated car now that's out that goes with the buggy with arms. And I think what we're going to see is gravitating more towards that with car because that's going to become the standard, I think. But the thing, there's two different sides to this whole thing. There's the guys that are the diehard racers that are going to build a purpose-built drag car. And then there's the guys that are bashers that want to do some drag racing. They're going to take what they have and try to just put wheels and tires and a body on it and have a drag car. So those are the guys that have the wide cars. And then the guys that have the little more specific vehicles are the ones with the buggy stuff. So, and then it's like you can't leave out either side because then one is mad over the other. So that's why this transition or this what's going on is so critical to watch and pay attention because it's rapidly changing. And then who's the next car that's going to come out? Now Associated is, as we talked about earlier, their third release into the drag cars. They had the the orange one, the green one, and then they've got this kit now. So they're 3 in, and there hasn't been a competitor yet that has a full car out of the box like this at that price point. So we're waiting to see, is Traxxas going to jump in it? They have all the equipment to do it, of course. And then Losi could jump in it if they wanted to. There's others that have race platforms, the X-Rays, the Serpents. All these guys have buggies, trucks, short courses that they can convert to these cars. So I predict by the end of the year, almost all these companies will have them. At least 2 of them will have good ones. And so, yeah, that's right. The decals are on the Speed Shop or are on a lot of the decal sheets. That's where it kind of started. Seltzer
break, guys. I can't take those long breaks like we, be like, hey, I'll be right back. Come back 15 minutes later, pick up recording again. What's that? Seltzer?
It's just regular water, but it goes see-through.
Yeah. Pretty awesome.
So what's next? We got any questions here?
Yeah, we got one here from Zachary for you.
Okay. If the answer doesn't take 3 minutes, so could you briefly explain diff oil tuning? You would want a diff full of fluid as opposed to any other situations. You want to fill it to what the recommended factory instructions say to fill it. I believe they say when you build the diff and you set the gears in there, you kind of a lot of people say they dry build these diffs first to see that they're functioning correctly, and then you put fluid in there to the recommended height, and you always want to fill the diff up. Whatever the recommended height is, you fill it up. And if you want to change how the diff feels, then you change the viscosity of the fluid. So, whether you run 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, or you run 200,000, you always want to keep it the same amount of fluid. You just want to change the viscosity. So that's that. Doesn't even take the rest of the show. That was an easy one.
Yeah. I was prepared for a long one.
Some guy will come in and be like, let's talk about sponsorships. Like, oh gosh.
Oh, no.
Episode 216.
John Bolton, think Traxxas will re-release the funny car and drag tree.
I don't think so. I don't think they'll re-release the funny car. I think what they'll do is I think they'll make this street eliminator. And I think that they'll probably come back. I don't know about the drag tree. They might re-release it. It'd be a good idea. I mean, that's what, we had like one or two of them here. Traxxas actually gave them to us for one of our events a long time ago. And gave one of them to AJ. He's been using it to tune. So it's been really helpful. I also see, and this is going to happen, there's people out there that are making their own stuff. I see guys making the PVC things everywhere, and they got they're going to start, people are going to start selling timing stuff.
Yeah.
But, there's nothing like it all being working alongside of your phone or an application that you can check all these stats. So Paul's saying that you can, with the touring car guys, they actually change the amount that's in the diff. So the touring car guys are just nuts, though. They are. They're never happy with the performance of the car, I've noticed. That's where all the tuning and the over tuning starts, is in touring car. All the adjustments that they're getting in on-road in touring car, you might as well write down whatever the adjustments are now, because it's coming off-road. At some point, it'll be an off-road adjustment. Because over the years, the things that people talk about now in off-road is stuff that they talked about in on-road 10 years ago. So it's coming. My laps timing, I don't know exactly how they would do drag racing, but maybe they do. I mean, maybe that's the system. What Fred has, because Fred used, when he ran the monster truck events, he has a Race America timing tree that gives you all the stats. So you can set up the timing tree, and it gives you the pro tree, where the lights come down. And so with his system, you get reaction time and your actual time, mile per hour too, I think. So he has the ability to get all that with the Race America software, which I was under the impression that's what they used in drag racing. I'm sure it's a lot more techie now, but that's Fred has that system. And like tire warmers. I mean, that was been out. When was those Trinity ones, Gotti? The Trinity tire warmers?
99, I believe.
Yeah. So it's so we had them a couple of years ago, so about 17, 18 years. So anything you've seen in touring car will be coming to dirt eventually. Unfortunately.
Took a lot of heat for that, the tire warmers.
Yeah. It seems like no matter when you
pun
release
intended.
them,
Heat.
Yeah. Get that heat. I still haven't used tire warmers. I don't think I've used them on my off-road car yet. I think I used them on my on-road car. I think I even had the Trinity ones.
Oh, they did. You guys aren't. I guess depends on the weather and stuff too, right? Certainly in the winter. Indoors, well, I don't know. When are you using them?
Well, off-road they've been using them indoors.
Let me just put it this way: is Mayfield using them?
He has used them before.
Is he using them now? Is Spencer using them?
Spencer uses them.
Okay, well then you got to use them. That's all. I would just look and see what those guys are doing, and if they're doing it, then you use them. Simple as that. Right?
They of course they
Oh.
have them, and
But
they have used them, but not every time.
Right. When do you use them?
They were using them at some of the indoor race events where you're running slicks. You never run them with treads, I don't think, because they've never used them with treads. But when you transition to either low tread or slick tires indoors is usually when they're using them. Yeah, that's what people do.
How much knowledge is that, Danny? Is it a lot of knowledge that you have there?
What did Danny put a picture up that maybe it was the body he got? I had the like, and then I put a GIF in there too. I was feeling excited. I put a GIF in there.
Use them when the first guy gets them out. It's like the honor system. He's right. There you go. I don't know. I just those guys are using them. You got to have them in your toolbox then.
You know what? Those ones that Muchmore makes are really nice too for off road. I've never had any. I haven't had any. Um, but if I've got them, I'd get those Muchmore ones. They're really cool. It has a power supply and you can adjust. They're cool.
So it's more about baking the sauce in. You're making me hungry, Paul.
You say cookies?
Go down there for some spaghetti.
Uh-oh.
He's talking about bacon and sauce. Get some little bacon crumbs in there.
You put bacon in the sauce?
I mean, I don't know. You can do whatever you want to do. All right, John Bolton and Midwest Mod Bodies coming, building an oval
Not
car.
yet. That'll definitely be one of the last ones because it's a big. This thing is just that's a big monster of a project. Having all those panels, and part body, part panels. Jimmy Simmons.
Any new carpet off-road tires coming?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's always something coming next. But yeah, especially for carpet. There's no time frame. It's still going to be a little while, but it's coming. Ugh.
Rob Sturgill. Good friend of the show. Will you be developing the Ghost Pin as the other company did?
I don't really know why that needs to be done, to be honest. We had our Bro Codes tire, which was a somewhat broken in tire. It wasn't a ghost pin, but it was broken in already. And this was a while ago. But what I don't understand is if you're going to have a ghost, this has been done twice already. But if you're going to have a ghost pin tire, I don't understand really why you'd need it because within like a run and a half, it's going to be slick in the middle anyway. So I don't really get it, to be honest. I mean, I can see having it. You could basically take ellipses and cut 2/3 of the tread off or more and just have this ghost thing, but I don't really understand um, really what the deal with that is. I mean, maybe it's something that we have to have, but I feel like when you take our tires now, the ellipse, and you run them a little bit and you break them in, they become what you want. So I don't really know why. Even if you have a brand new tire that's a ghost pin, I don't really know why you're still going to run it and break it in and drive it. So all we're talking about the difference is a couple runs on the track. I haven't really seen something. Um, haven't really seen something like that. Yeah, I mean, Paul said the bar flies were kind of a ghost pin. And those things were. I want to say they were. If we did it in inches, they were. I think our. I don't know if you can see this. That was the height of the bar flies. 0.0225. That's pretty much a ghost pin. You know what? And there was ghost pins made in 1999 too. Back in the day, I was involved in that, and there were some ghost pins back then, and it didn't work then. Guys still took taper pins was the hot tire back then, and they would break them in and run them. So I don't know. I don't know if we're gonna need that. If we do, I mean, it's easy enough to do. All it costs is money.
Justin Doyle says guys complain about buying tires and sand them down to be fast. Now they're going to buy a ghost pin that they're still paying for but don't last.
Yeah, I mean, Justin is, that's exactly what he's saying. I think the last few things we've talked about is the reason why 10 scale off-road racing, the growth has been stunted, is because we've gotten back to running. We went through a cycle, and because we started running slicks in the late 90s, we started running slicks and it killed 10 scale buggy racing. Then we kind of got back going again, the B4 generation and all that type of stuff. We started racing more dirt again, and tires were and now we're getting closer and closer. I'd say almost every race we ran. I mean, this is another thing is almost every race we ran last year, we ran slicks on 10 scale. Even the races I ran, we were running slicks. And I think that I think it hurts the class. I think if we could figure out a way somehow to make the tracks or the dirt where you didn't run that, I think it would be more attractive. But I think that these, Justin's kind of doing something right now. He's actually getting out of 10 scale and running 8 scale, probably more because of location of tracks being more 8 scale for him. But now he's getting back into running treaded tires again in 8 scale, and now he's experiencing this a little bit differently. Whereas in 10 scale, I noticed, when we were at similar races, you're running almost no tread or slicks, and now he's running 8 scale. He's seeing that, these different treads and how the compounds affect things. And I just seem to think that every time in 10 scale off-road that we start to get to where we're almost running no tread and running slicks, the entries to me always seem to decline. It seems like if we had more 10 scale friendly backyard 10 scale tracks and those type of tires and conditions, I think the turnouts would be better. Um, I think the cycle in racing is coming back to 8 scale right now because of most of the 10 scale racing is done with slicks. If you and carpet is a whole another animal, but yeah, it's tough. But I think that's just my general opinion. Yeah, I mean, he's saying that the off-road tire game, yeah, and it is. And the more that people know about it, the worse it is. Carpet is easy as long as you don't, as long as you're not saucing. If they could keep tire sauce out of carpet off-road racing, I think it would help. But that's starting to creep in. You just
Justin Doyle used to hate 8 scale so bad. Now that I'm doing it, totally understand why people like it. Outdoors, no prep, camping atmosphere, and racing's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're seeing that a lot. So, really all you really would do is there's all these tracks they built for 8 scale. If you had 10 scale tracks that you built smaller and essentially ran a similar condition, I think people would start getting back out to doing it. They're getting ran off with a new car every year and tires with no tread. I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Danny Mack says, "Remember my phone gate days."
I don't really remember that. Do you remember that?
I don't remember. I just remember Deflategate, Spygate,
Watergate.
Bring back. I agree.
And this is where things get interesting because I think the surface thing is so hard because
go back to the old days.
Well, it's easy to say the old days and say, "Oh, I liked racing on loamy dirt," but then when you do it and everyone's cars get really, really dirty, they don't like that either. So it's like Paul talks about. This was several years ago, but there's a track we liked going to called Shiverville, and they decided that one race they were going to run it wet and loamy, which they would usually run it. They would usually run it dirty, but it would be smooth, and there wasn't like a lot of like loam on the cars. Well, anyway, they intentionally started watering this track, and the guys were really upset that how dirty their cars got. So they didn't really realize that part until they started running, and they were like, "Oh man, now we got to worry about all this." So,
Danny Mac got banned. You Patriots fan, Danny?
Foamgate. That's what's hard about off-road racing is the surface. I think what's good for what's good for race turnouts is a little different than what's good for big races. Big races, it's good to have a consistent track, have good traction, and you just want to know that when you get out there, when you get out there, you want to know that you're on the same equal track conditions as the other guy. That's the problem with outdoor dirt racing is the conditions of the track vary so much. 8 scale, they get away with it more than they do in 10 scale. And that's where in 8 scale, they get away with, they get away with murder out there. They can do anything to these tracks and they get bumpier, they get looser, they get higher traction, and they can make it through rounds of qualifying with people not getting too ornery about the unfair level of track here and there. In 10 scale, if the track is good, I mean, it changes between qualifiers in Florida. If you're racing outside, we'll race Coral Springs this weekend. I mean, depending on the weather, how good it is. If you're out there running and the sun comes out, your track's faster than when the sun goes behind the clouds. So that's what people, and that can happen between qualifiers, and the track gets better the longer you run. So there's a whole host of things that happen in 10 scale racing that are difficult running on these surfaces. But if we that's why a little grippier track works better for big races outdoors, because you can keep that consistent factor a little more into a window. When you like try to just um, let the track start off one way and gradually move to another, there's huge swings in the speed of the track. And not we're not talking about like if we ran a race in Coral Springs, and I'm using that as an example because we're going there. If you run the morning qualifier in round 1 and you TQ that round and the sun is out, the weather's getting better, and they run by the second round, it can be a lap difference between what you ran in the first round and what you run in the second round. The track is a lap faster. So you can see in that time span how much the track is changing. And by the time you get a whole nother round of qualifying through, your first round time is not nowhere near good enough. It's a lap difference. And I tell this story sometimes, and this is going back to in the 90s, but I was running the Winter Champs back then, and the track got fast. And before the fastest round of qualifying, I was 5th qualifier in two-wheel mod. Well, in the fast round of qualifying, I popped off a ball cup, and I was in the E main. So I went from being 5th qualifier, and I broke in the fast round of qualifying. I went to the E main. That's how much difference the track was in speed. So
you say P main?
E.
E. Okay.
I didn't drop all the way to the P.
Billy says 8 scales are beast. Can run them anywhere. 10 scale tends to be way more sensitive.
Yeah, and it's right. That's why people like it, because you can be an animal with it. You can drive over pipes. You can drive over other cars. You can, drive in the loose stuff. You can drive off of bad jumps, and they're 4-wheel drive, and that's why people like them. And it makes sense.
I love watching 8 scale.
Yeah, me too. I just think about. I'm getting pictures from Ronnie from the JBRL, and I think, man, like I want to watch these guys this weekend. I mean, is anybody going to run a live camera? It's because it is a blast to watch. I love racing two-wheel buggy. That's my favorite class. But going to watch a good nitro race is definitely very neat. It's
I love the strategy.
You have to drive. To me, you have to drive a two-wheel buggy to appreciate the guys that are really good at it. And like you watch Spencer Rivkin win the Worlds at Hootie Arena, and I think on video or being there, it's not that impressive unless you know what it feels like to drive the car. 8 scales, to me, it seems like they're more impressive, and you don't have to have a lot of familiarity with how it works. So
drivers are too much prima donnas today. Been running outdoor loose tracks, but it's not set up for most racers' cars in the area, my opinion. He's calling you out, Jason.
He is?
Yeah, he called you a prima donna.
Oh, no, I don't think he is. I have to get a picture of what I think is the ideal track condition. It's not as dirty and loamy as people say, I think. Like people say,
how about some ruts? That would be nice.
People say bring back real dirt and all this type of stuff, which is fine. But there is a look. There's a certain look to the track that it has when it has the traction, it has drivability, you have dirt on your tires, and the cars work well. And it's not really dirty. There is a happy spot, and the track looks a certain way when it's like that. And I'll bring up some pictures. I'll find my what is it? What is it called when the Just Right, the the Three Bears thing? There's a Just Right track condition that kind of has the checks off all the boxes. I'm racing on dirt. Check. I
Yeah.
got a little dirt on my car. Check. I got pin tires. Check. Like cars, good to drive, but not just wide open everywhere. Check. Like you can checks all the boxes.
Yeah, John, I know you weren't calling Jason up here. I was just kidding around with Jason. We got to bring him down just a little bit, John. Robert says Jason's got skills to make the mills.
What did I said? The skills are diminishing, though.
Uh-oh.
When you don't.
This is a question I asked you guys a long time ago on the pod.
When you don't keep them sharp, it's hard to pull that out of your pocket.
Okay.
But I don't know. We'll see what we can do. Got a race this weekend, I guess.
John, Hobby Haven. I don't know, man. I just love that track. You got the hobby shop, the store right there, and you can look out and the track is right there.
That's kind of that's like
cozy.
The quintessential track and hobby shop, right?
Yeah, it's awesome.
You can see both
I love
at
it.
the same time.
Absolutely. Man, if I had that in my area, I'd be racing and smashing into the barriers and stuff like that. Chris Pace, Savannah, Georgia, back in the day. Step pins and car was clean.
Yeah, he's got it about right. I mean, that was one of the conditions where I remember driving in Savannah, Georgia, and I remember when the track was really, really good there, and I remember shaking because I was trying to drive the car so hard, just getting into the turns, trying to get through the turns, and like I wasn't shaking because I was nervous. I was shaking because I'm like trying to make the car go faster because it has so much. You had a lot of control, a lot of drivability, and you're like, I need to push this thing even more, and that's how Savannah was back then. That was a place we would go to, and we just loved it. There's actually a race coming up there, and if it's open, Paul and I might go to a race there.
The more you race, the skills stay fresh. But I'm wondering, though, as you age, will it matter? Like if you raced every day and say you're 50, you think you'd be competing with these young kids?
I just don't know what the.
I mean, you're almost there, right? What are you now? 49?
No.
I'm trying to make you older than you are.
43.
You suck.
I don't know. It's unproven. The people that are going to show us is Mayfield, Cavallari, and Tebow. They're going to show us how long and how far you can take it, because they're all 33 years old. I'm 43, and they are going to show us how long you can do this, and they're already doing it longer than I thought. They're already more competitive and better than I thought that they would be at that age.
Okay. John says he's 55 and it matters. John's out there trying his best. See, he's doing what he can do. He's trying to stay on top of his game, but he realizes he's 55.
It's also an excuse, right? It's also a really good excuse. And I think
I don't know about that.
I think sometimes people will use it as an excuse, and it's hard not to. I've said it to Lee and guys that we race with, I using it as an excuse. And but who's a really good, um, I will say this, um, Rick Howard is an amazing driver still for his age. Uh, Paul, obviously, he's doing well too. Paul's not as old as Rick is, but um, Rick Howard with a touring car is still a badass, and um, I think he's well into his 50s. And there is a certain amount. I'll compare this to, if you have had the skill and you've had the talent, you have if you have it, I think you can carry it on for quite a while. Um, and it's like when Grant Hill was in the NBA. I kind of think about this, where when he came in to the NBA and he was just out of college, it was young, and he was like almost averaging a triple double. He was like a really great player, and he had all these special skills and talents. He had it, right? He had the ability to be, um, he had the ability to be just amazing. And then he got hurt. He went to Orlando. He got this problem with his ankle and his foot. And it was just, what did he have, like 6 surgeries or something on it?
Yeah, I think
He
so.
lost the whole prime of his career to this injuries. He ended up barely playing for Orlando, and he got traded to Phoenix. And then he was a really good, solid player, but he lost the whole prime of his career. He lost the whole prime of his career to this injury. But what I was noticing is he still had something that the other guys did not. He was still a very good player, and he was almost, he was playing into his late 30s? I think it was his late 30s. He
Yeah.
still had something that other people did not, and he was keeping him in the game because I think he had more than most people do to begin with. So if you have more than most people do to begin with, I think you can extend it longer. And that might be what we're seeing with some people, and like the Mayfields and all these guys. I mean, these guys are going to be fast when they're 50 years old. I mean, you watch Richard Saxton race; he's still awesome. I mean, he rips on himself and says, "I'm going to go run the old fart class," and all. But you go watch him drive, and you're like, he's getting around pretty good. Uh, he's not as fast as some of these other guys. So
Sturgill, track time is important. That being said, my trigger finger isn't as fast as Dustin Evans given the same track time. 49, things just move slower.
but
Okay.
that's what I always kind of wonder too, is it's like, so you got this part, right? You pull the trigger and then you got your steering, right? So like, how much faster can you go like than this? You know what I mean? Like, is it like, can you actually, is like Dustin Evans, like, can he do this faster? I don't think so.
It's the whole eye.
Yeah, there's a coordination part of it. There is
Yeah,
like um, there is something about the coordination between, the steering, the throttle, and watching what you're doing. There is a correlation there, and it's doing it at the right time, right? It's the timing of it. So it's hard to figure out. I've never really,
I can tell you what.
to be honest, when I drive a car, I drive an RC car now. I'm actually, there's times when I kind of, it's been a long time since I've driven or something, and I'll go up and I'll start driving, and I'll be like, do I remember how to do this? And I'll start driving, and I'm like, oh, I'm better at this than I thought I would be.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting. It's hard. Fast twitch muscle fibers.
This I've talked
You know
about
what
this
he's
with you.
saying is, I watched on YouTube one day, and there is there obviously there is a time, but the thing I was watching on YouTube was it was a basketball game with like retired players or guys that were Dr. J was in it anyway. It was in Rutger Park in New York. And Dr. J in this
I
video.
played there.
Really?
On the video game. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
NBA.
So Dr. J in this video, he's old. Like he's like for a basketball player, he's like in his late 50s, it looks like in this video. And he's still very good. Like he's still got all the big hand stuff where he's can do whatever he wants with the ball. He can make a shot. He's inside. He's still like taller than everybody. But what like Rob's talking about, you could see when he's running and trying to do like a move, it's not just like a no-brainer anymore. Like there's, you know what I mean? Like he's like, there's almost like a little bit more of a checklist in terms of,
okay, it looks like he's thinking about it.
Yeah, like he's like, all right, I'm going to go ahead and make my move. And
right,
I'm going to do this.
Right.
I'm going to make the move. And whereas when you watch the highlights of these guys in their prime, it's just action nonstop. But he still has a lot of the gifts and things that, and you could see he was still the best player on the court with everybody else. But yeah, it's cool. But I know exactly what he's saying.
And I talked to you about this. What if you took an athlete? You know where I'm going, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you draft him. Let's say you draft him to the Lakers. Let's just say, and you just put him on the shelf for 10 years.
So you drafted.
So he doesn't have any mileage 20. On his. What's that?
So you drafted him when he was 20.
I drafted him when he's 20, and I introduced him when he's 30. Yeah.
He's not going to be.
Will I? Huh?
He's not going to be as good.
I know. You don't think like if you're saving all that mileage on the legs. You don't think if you just put them on the shelf for 10 years, and obviously you got to train and stuff still, and keep yourself in shape, but you're avoiding all 10 years worth of games running up and down the court. Don't you think that if you come in at your 30, you could maybe play into your 50s then?
What I think, yeah, it might move the window a little bit. It might move the window because now you're not gonna maybe.
But you still think that everything deteriorates. Obviously, your eye and hand coordination will probably deteriorate with age, no matter what, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But don't you think you'll still have legs in your 50s then?
I don't know. I don't. I would think
that
you're not going. I think you're not going to be as good. The problem is, well, the issue is you don't know how good the guy is to begin with.
Well, let's say I'm drafting him. I already know he's awesome. I'm drafting a Kobe Bryant.
But he never played in the game in the NBA, right? So what you need is you need like a couple years in the NBA to get that to get something to go by. And then it's like, boom, you go in the cryogenic chamber, right?
Right.
Put him in the chamber for 10 years, and then you bring him back out and say, okay, let's see what you got. And I think there is some preserving because you're not going to have the wear and tear. But it's like you hear about these guys that get injured at home. Oh, I tripped over my step and I'm out for 6 months. So you could still get injured not playing. I do think you would lose something, but what might not be as noticeable is maybe the wear and tear.
Yeah, I've had this discussion with Jason in our group chat. Just remember, I was just off the wall question, and we got into a big discussion about it. And it's funny it's being brought up today. So, Ryan says, don't forget about Gene Heckerson in his 40s and still giving the young, fast regional guys a tough time. You'd love to see that.
Nah,
the guys in their 40s giving these young ones.
Actually.
Huh?
That's not really true.
Uh-oh.
He races the over 40 class, and he beats the other guys in the over 40 class, but he doesn't.
So his times are comparable to the young ones, you're saying?
No.
Oh, it's not.
He's a good driver, and he's in his 40s, but he's racing the over 40 class. To me, when you compare him against the fastest guys in the other class, he's not really comparable. But
why do guys race the over 40 class? Why not just stick with the young guys?
Do we want to go into this now?
All right, I guess not. 8:30.
No, I mean, I know exactly what Ryan's saying. I think, but he has always been a good driver. Gene has always been a good driver and a good racer. But I think his actual speed just isn't with the Lees and the Julians and I'm forgetting a couple of the other kids, but he's not as fast as those guys.
Isn't the over 40 class just like, why have it? Just have everybody race as one. No?
I know what you mean. I know what you're saying. What it is it's another opportunity to win. And people like racing in things that they have a chance to win. And there's a over 40 e-buggy class. There's a over 40 nitro buggy class, and people love racing those classes, and they start developing like these rivalries. And that's what I see on the force races is I start seeing the rivalries kind of between the guys that are in that class. So like at our races, we got like the Dave Duncans, Carl Debo, Kari Brown, Gene races nitro, and some of the others, and they start to get a rivalry with each other, and now it becomes like a little circle of their own group of racers. And I think that it gives them hope and energy and a purpose to go to the next race and try to beat and do well in that class again. And it is a different way to look at it, but if you grouped them all together and you just said, oh, there's only going to be nitro buggy, and however you want to break it down, I think these guys wouldn't be as happy in the, on a state level being in the bottom of the B main or the top of the C main. Like, I don't think, or whatever the breakdown is, I don't think you would be as happy. Now, you would be racing the same guys. That's what's ironic about it. It's just the letter of the main is different. So it's just a mentality. It's just I'm winning something kind of mentality. And, I've raced over 40 classes. I've raced RC monster trucks. I've done some dirt oval over 40. I've raced all the different classes. And it is fun to be more competitive in your class because you don't feel like you're, I don't know, a loser, I guess. I don't know. But there is something about it. It makes you feel a little bit more competitive, like I'm racing for something.
Whereas Kyle mentions he's pushing for a 50 plus class. So we don't have a 50 plus class, right? Why is it just 40? What about the guys that are 50? What happens to them?
They're racing 40 plus right now. It is a mess. You could have a 50 plus class and people would race it. And then there would be like, well, I'm 49. Can I race 50 class? And it'd be like, nope, not yet.
Yeah. Well, I will say this. When I played Call of Duty back in the day, I was good at it, right? Now, I was in there ranking up there pretty good. I was in the top, I was up there, top 5, sometimes finish first or whatever. I would trash talk, do all that stuff. And then I would say late 30s, I started noticing I was going lower and lower, down the ranks and doing bad in the games. And now if I log on and play multiplayer, the 12-year-olds are telling me off. So they're destroying me and telling me what they did to my mom last night. But anyway, I understand completely. I did the same thing. So, but that's the thing. Like I've noticed, like I was blaming it, and you can ask Carrie this. I went out and bought a new TV because I was saying, oh, my TV's too old. I got some input lag there, so I went and bought a better TV. Then I'm like, well, maybe I need a controller that's not Bluetooth, but
substitute that for different car kit or radio, and that would be at the RC.
Right. So I was trying to blame everything else. And then I had to accept the fact, well, Carrie was just like, you're getting old, face it. But I was like, well, maybe my Bluetooth controller I should get one of those competition controllers where you plug it in. Remember me and Kirby bought those? And, guys were saying, oh, don't use Bluetooth because there's a little bit of lag. So just make sure you use input, plug it in, USB port. Tried that, still getting killed. Yeah.
That's the setup.
So we got to do. Anyway.
One thing that it also you have to do is it has to mean everything to you. The second that you accept the second that you start accepting something other than what you're accustomed to, you're already slipping. You're slipping down a notch because you're starting to accept something that's less than what you're capable of or you think that you're capable of. And this is a whole thing. This is a whole conversation into itself, is how to not use it as an excuse or think that that it is becoming a disadvantage. And how do you fight that? I don't know, because the second something happens and it's hard. It's hard to fight it. And I know when I was 16, 17, 18, whatever, 20, I guess you also feel when you're in that zone, there is no excuses. You're like, well, I can't say that I'm too young. I had somebody tell me that we were at the regionals a few years back. They're like, we were racing at Coral Springs, and I won two-wheel drive or whatever the class was we were racing, and the guy said, well, my son just didn't have the experience that you guys have. He's just too young. And I'm like, well, I won my first regionals when I was his age. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so it's like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I know what you're saying.
It's like, so you're using the excuse that he's too young to win. I'm using the excuse that I'm too old. So how many excuses can we have? Right? Like,
right.
It's one big excuse. So
yeah,
at some point,
it's like me trying to blame everything, the equipment.
Mm-hmm. There can only be so many excuses. At some point, you just have to, you either got it or you don't. And Justin, he's right. There's obviously a point to where I think that meaning everything to you is a big part of it. And I remember when I was, when you're younger and you're more focused on these goals, it does mean everything to you, and it's crushing when it doesn't go your way. And now the older you get, you can find excuses why you can let things roll off of you. You can let these things kind of go past and say, all right, well, I'm getting older and I haven't been doing this, or I wasn't ready. And you can make all these things and you can justify it. And by Monday morning, you're okay again. Where it was like, I remember being, between 16 and 20, and it's like, by Monday, I'm not over it. Tuesday, I'm not over it. Wednesday, I'm not over it. Thursday, it's like taking days and weeks. And then, you still think back about it and you're like, I'm still not over this. I'm not ever getting over this.
Right. Nope.
People say that you just got to get over it. No,
I won't.
No, you don't understand. I'm not getting over it. I'm forgetting about it temporarily. That's really what happens. And then somebody brings it up and you're like, you know what?
All right, we'll switch topics there on the whole age thing. Kyle Predmore, any chance spring INS will be rescheduled, or are we just going to wait for next year?
At the moment, I think it's going to be canceled personally. I don't think there's going to be a way to put it all in, to get it all into the schedule. We'll see. We'll see what Scott says. If he has some definite ideas or plans of when we can do it, then we'll consider it because it's a good stop. So, but I mean, man, the further we get away from these, I mean, that was supposed to be in April or early May, something like that. So, yeah.
No, we got some more people chiming in about the 40.
The other thing I will say about RC racing is our crowd is getting older too. So it's like whatever that, you talk about your demographic, whatever that window is, ours is going toward the older demographic. And, there is kids and younger people that do it, but the reason these other classes are successful is because a lot of our racers are older. A lot of our racers are 40 plus years old. That's what this appeals to, and that's who can pay for it, are people that are the age in that age range. So that's why these classes are fun.
Drew says, I have my best results the past several years now that I'm running over 40 class and having a blast. I stopped taking it so serious and just went out to have fun. Results have been awesome. There you go. $40 class.
I mean, where we were just at, I think we went over this about talking about the Nitro Challenge, but well, I got to set my alarm for tomorrow because
1 p.m. alarm time.
I set it for 6:45 a.m. So, yeah, we ran the Nitro Challenge, and I want to say that the most amount of entries were coming from the 40 plus classes. And we're going to do the PMB next weekend, and I won't be surprised that there'll be some of the biggest classes are in the over 40 because that's our demographic. Lordy, 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 look who's 40.
Justin says just move all INS to next year.
It could happen. So what else we got? I went through my list. I got my list. I went through. We got into some lordy, lordy, lordy.
Don't forget, folks, to send in your suggestions for our football podcast. Spencer Rifkin and I, during the season, be doing the. It's not going to just be Patriots. Mostly Patriots, but then we're going to throw in, give you our predictions and stuff.
We'll be discussing all teams.
Maybe we'll give something away if we use your suggestions. So just send them in to us. Message me on Facebook, radioimpound@gmail.com. I need a name for the show. Kyle says you need a younger crowd coming up, or it will be all 40 plus.
Well, that's what.
Right. Well, we got the young kids coming up.
We have young kids.
Yeah.
But there's not as many of them. That's for sure.
Ron asked, whatever happened to Jason's monster truck?
I sold
he's talking about Bigfoot.
I sold it to Fred Reap, who has it in Missouri being restored. So Fred works here with us at J Concepts and friend of mine, and so it's kind of, I'll say, still in the family, I guess you could say. But I do have in the office here. Let's see if I can see it. You can see it. See right here, right How do I do this? Right here? Up
Right
there?
here? Right here? Right
Yeah,
there?
that's the title.
Oh, there's the title.
So that's the title for Bigfoot 4 is in a frame on the wall. So, but when
So what's Fred have to wrestle you for it or what?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
we're having a pay-per-view event.
Title on the pole match.
So when
Yeah, John, this is what Jason's waiting for. Yeah.
buy it back when it's done. It's like, hey, I'll give you another 5,000, and this is no small project. I'm glad I don't have it anymore because it's just way over my head or way over my effort level.
Kyle says, bring back the club kits like the B6 and B6D club racers.
I think the problem with that is it wasn't successful. They didn't sell. Because if you're a racer, I don't know, it's another conversation again, but Paul and I talked about this when they came out with those cars, and people aren't going in to buy that stuff. If you're going to buy a race car, I think you go in to buy the best race car, right? So,
yeah, I just remember like I just wanted the best, whatever I can get.
Yeah,
like I didn't want to buy the ready to run kit for sure. I was just like, man, I don't want that. I want this. I want the best of the best. And it feels like a competition at the race. When you show up, you need to have the top shit.
You're the top dog.
Yeah. I think that's the problem, though. The mentality is I need to have the top stuff to race.
Mm-hmm.
I know
well,
that's...
you look at the way everybody approaches things, and Kirby sends us the links to the mountain bikes he wants and stuff like that. And he's not looking for the RTR mountain bike. He's not looking for the one that's like, oh, this is a good budget mountain bike. They want the best. People want the best that's in their budget. And I think that's just human nature. You buy something online. I was somewhere the other day and I'm like, Allison and I went to this place in Orlando called, is it Shooter's World? I think it's called Shooter's World. And you're looking at guns, right?
Oh yeah, you were sending photos.
Yeah, we were at this place called Shooter's World. This place is amazing here. Anyway, just the level of participation they get. It's what people think when they open an indoor RC track, what it's going to be like. Just people going in and out with all their equipment, buying stuff constantly. There's a 50-foot, 50-yard range, 25-yard range, 100 range. I mean, there's people everywhere in a pandemic with masks on, buying stuff, and just everywhere. People are everywhere buying stuff, and I'm just like, man, this is insane how popular this is. And there's food courts in there and everything. Anyway, so I'm in there looking at this stuff and I'm thinking, okay, what's the best? Right?
Yeah, right.
I'm just like looking at the cabinets. Oh, here's the Glocks, here's the this, and here's the that, and I'm just you're looking at the thing, you're looking at the price, and you're just like, hey, well, this one's $600. Oh, well, this one's $1,900. Well, what's the difference between this one? It's like, oh, this one must be, so
yeah, that's how I am.
It's tough, and it's tough to not want something that's cool. I mean, to me, Kirby sent me a link the other day to a mountain bike, and I'm just like, I want this thing. I don't even want to ride a mountain bike, but I just want this bike because it looks so cool. And so, you go buy a car. You probably buy the best car you can in your budget or whatever the case may be. And if it was unlimited, what are you going to get? You're going to get
the limited version.
Yeah, it's tough.
Top of the line. The what was the Ford Explorer back in the day? Eddie Bauer. Yep. Eddie Bauer. You're gonna get the Eddie Bauer edition.
Mm-hmm. It's like, wow, Gotti's got the Eddie Bauer.
Yeah. Kirby's brother had the Eddie Bauer edition. We used to drive that to lunch every day at Trinity.
That was the lunch wagon.
That was the lunch wagon, the Eddie Bauer Ford Explorer. And then Dieter would show up once in a while with that van. Remember the van back in the day?
Trinity van with the purple.
The Trinity van. Yep.
Check out this brush motor here.
Ah, it's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah, we got the brushes out.
Oh man, get a little tear in my eye. Beautiful.
Whoa. Brush is tight in here. This could have been affecting my performance.
Uh-oh.
I don't like that. Holy cow.
What'd you have that in?
We got a monster truck class called Sport Mod. And is this what they would call, you could get a hung brush? Wow, that thing, it's not coming out of there. I got to get serious. Whew. What's ironic is I was just writing some instructions the other day about this.
John says, I have a $400 rod and reel to go fishing. God damn, $400. Wow.
See?
It's carbon fiber. What's the deal?
Yeah, it's just everybody is
got awesome ball bearings in the reel.
It's all ball bearings.
Ceramic bearings.
It's all ball bearings today.
So when you buy a car kit today, you just throw away the bearings, right? And just get new ones?
No.
No?
I use the bearings that come with my B6.
Yeah? Okay.
There's some people that buy, ceramics and stuff, but because I think that's going to help them with stock racing, but I don't know. Maybe it does.
Justin says, Jason, what have you seen Mayfield do with a skill that is unique and others don't do besides his driving?
What does he do with his 8 scale besides the driving?
Justin's trying to get some secrets here.
I don't know. I'll keep thinking.
All right.
What does he do?
Kyle Boxstock / needs a resurgence.
It would be nice if it did. It was strong in 2012. RC was really racing. RC racing was really popping.
I have a new never ran P2K2 brush stock. Wow, that's awesome.
I'm really upset that this brush was so bound up in here. That's not good.
P2K motor, baby. Burns a 1/4 ounce of sage and whispers sweet nothings.
I still can't think of what Mayfield does really all that different. He doesn't really do a lot different. It's just hard to. Sometimes it's just hard to describe that.
It is mostly driving.
It's a lot. It is a lot.
It's the tires.
I'm sure he has his, the way he builds some of his diffs and stuff like that. But I mean, I've seen him drive all these cars, and you can get away with a lot. If you're a wheel, you can get away with a lot. I think I did this story before.
Yeah, we did earlier, Kyle.
Told this story before, but at the 2005 Worlds, it was the first Worlds that Mayfield ever went to, and he put his cars in my room after the mains, because I forget what they were going to go do, but they went somewhere and they needed the cars to bring down to the what's the thing afterwards? The banquet. Sorry. So he needed the cars for the banquet, but they were going to go do something. So he's like, "Hey, can you bring my cars to the banquet when you come down there? Because we're going to go." Okay, that's fine. So I'll bring these cars to the banquet. So I'm looking at his cars in my room, and obviously we spent the whole couple weeks with him at the race, but I mean the cars are straight off the track, and you're looking at the car, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, you're looking at the rear camber, and you're like, well, it's like the camber's not the same on both sides. The toe end's not perfect on here in the front. The car was not perfect at all. Like, and he just took it off the track where he was just killing it, and a lot of that stuff just sticks out of my mind. That if you're a wheel and you can wheel it, and but he's been over the years he's gotten to be a even more a better wrench with his cars, and it's helped him get better because he's more particular. But I'm sure he has his own methods for building his diffs and his shocks and stuff like that. But when I've been at the races, it doesn't look any different than anybody else's, or feel that much different than anybody else's. I think what he's probably the best at is adapting to what's happening with the track on the fly. So that's a big thing when you're racing any of these cars is you can only get a couple warm-up laps. You only get a couple warm-up laps to really get a feel for what the track is like now when you're on it. And I think he always does a good job of adjusting on the fly to what's going on. And that's probably one of the things that he's the best at is you give him 2 or 3 warm-up laps, he understands what he can and can't do if the track changed. And I think that's something that he's always been really, really good at. And I don't know if that's not necessarily even just your talent. That is just something that, to me, it's just understanding that things change and you have to adapt. And I think that's probably what he's probably the best at, to me, is just getting the car out there and getting the most out of a couple warm-up laps.
Nice, Kyle. Thank you. It's the other way around.
Yeah. I think one of the things too is he's good at living and dying with a decision that he will make. So a lot of people are looking around trying to find what that magical setup is from somebody else, but I think there's something to be said for having your mind made up that you're going to make a change and you stick with it and you go with it, and you don't wait for somebody else to do it for you. So like if you think this is going to be better and in your mind you think it's going to be better, you do it and you live with that result. And I think that that's been something that he's good at.
All right, guys, that was good. Got a lot of questions. Pretty cool doing this live and interacting with everybody. Enjoy it. That was episode 215. 215. Still climbing. Still doing what we do. Somebody asked me the other day how long. I said 8 years. It was 8 years in April. So still doing it, bro. What was that stat that we saw the other day? 75% of the podcasters quit before they get to episode 50.
75%.
75%.
Before they get to episode 50.
God damn.
You're in a very small percentile, probably. Well, you're in the 25 percentile. Right.
Yeah, it's amazing. But yeah, so again, we did a live video yesterday. If you missed it, Spencer, the road to 300. Absolutely. We're not going to start that though right now. It's a little early. We get excited around 270.
Yeah.
I don't even know where I was at. That's it. 215. What are you going to add to it, Jason? What are you doing this weekend anyway? What's going on?
Going to the Super Cup Championship Series in Coral Springs.
That's right. Leaving tomorrow.
Yeah. Set
that alarm early, 6:45, get up.
Yeah, Paul's already texted me.
He's like, dude.
I'm just like, oh, man.
That early?
But, you know, the good thing is you get early. Maybe I'll get a coffee tomorrow. I don't normally get.
You're still doing the Starbucks? The
yeah,
minty, very whatever. What do you call it? Very berry.
Maybe I'll get a latte tomorrow.
Okay.
What is it? Vanilla latte. That's what I was getting at in Slovakia. You'd make it in there in the push the button latte.
Right. I don't know all those fancy names. Like, first of all, they wouldn't even allow me in Starbucks since they see me. So I'm a Dunkin' Donuts guy. You know, it's simple. Now you go to Starbucks and it's like you got this. I don't even know how to order. I don't even know how to order from Starbucks. I have to have Carrie do it for me because you got that like the grande. Is that a large?
It's grande, venti. Well, actually, it's tall, grande, venti, and trenta. That's the size.
Oh my god! And that's just is that a regular coffee?
Any drink size. It doesn't matter what you get. Those are the way the sizes are classified.
Guys in the chat, Dunkin' or Starbucks? Yeah, Starbucks is just too fancy for me.
Honestly, most people tell me they really prefer Dunkin's coffee. I've heard a lot of people tell me that.
Yeah,
and I think it's cheaper too.
Starbucks is probably crap, but it's a whole status symbol thing.
Yeah, they.
He carried a Starbucks cup around. He looked cool, I guess, right?
I guess.
Jason goes for the taste, not for the.
I do. I just get that one drink. Yeah. I was in the drive the other day. Guys, like, do you just get this drink? And I'm like, yeah.
Oh, look at this. We got Ben Warner, Dunkin'.
Maybe tomorrow it'll be so early. I'll be like, all right, I'll get a coffee and we'll get some Chick-fil-A, those like chicken minis.
Oh, okay, yeah. You know what? I'm not a fan of Chick-fil-A. I'll say it. There you go. What's the matter?
Chick-fil-A.
Is anybody else out there with me? Like I've had It's not bad, but it's nothing like I've been there and I'm like
T-Tran. He's just like, it's just a chicken sandwich, no big deal. Which it is, but it's just fast.
Yeah, food. I'm like, what is so great about this?
Food though. It is just fast food though. I love Chick-fil-A. There'll be a day I'll wake up and I'll just like, I'm not gonna have Chick-fil-A for a while.
What's so special? Here we got Justin saying I'm crazy in the chat. What's so special about Chick-fil-A? Like
there's something about the nuggets, the way they taste. I think they're just amazing.
He's saying, yeah, Justin, you're not missing anything. All right,
the waffle
Justin
fries
Doyle got it
too.
What's that?
The waffle fries are
no,
good.
I don't like them at all. They're horrible.
Wow.
All right, yeah, I don't know. They're just nothing special. There's nothing special.
We'll be there in the morning. We'll get the little breakfast minis they have. Those things are killer. They could just sell the biscuits. Have you ever had those?
No.
They're good.
Justin says I got to get the Chick-fil-A sauce.
Yeah.
So you got to drown it in sauce to make it taste good. Got you.
I don't use any of the sauce.
Look at this. It's not special. I'm with Gotti. There you go, Billy. He's a good friend of mine. I like you, Billy.
We agree.
Yeah. All right. Wow, we still got Pissed they took away the breakfast bagel up here. Oh, wow. So they took away the breakfast bagel at Chick-fil-A. Up there, wherever he's at. North Carolina. Isn't that what you said you were going to get tomorrow?
No, the chicken minis.
Chicken minis.
I think they're called chicken minis.
All right.
They basically have like a little roll. It's a little roll, and then the good ice.
The good ice. What's the good ice?
The little pebbles.
The little pebbles. Okay, I will agree on that one. Okay.
The good ice. I love it.
The good ice.
I mean, the fact that we all see that Gotti would love the chicken mini. See?
Okay, well, I'll have to.
The sauce that I do like that
we'll try that.
I have had the sauce. The guy's got me kind of going on the. Is it called roasted honey barbecue? That's pretty good.
Okay.
And the good ice.
We're not getting any votes here for Starbucks, just so you know. Dunkin's winning by a landslide.
Yeah, I mean,
3 votes.
I just go there. I just go there for that one drink. That's the only thing. I mean, if I was going to get coffee, I would probably go to Dunkin' too. But I just get that one drink. So
I avoid places that look too fancy. I tried one in Target. I was in Target, which that too is like I should be at Walmart, but I was at Target. And they had a Starbucks in there. That's where I tried that drink that you told me to.
Okay.
Or the very berry.
That's it.
Yeah. The little seeds like nearly cracked my teeth. Or they get stuck in between them. You got to floss then. Yeah.
Oh. Well,
anyway, folks. Huh?
You're a big flosser, so.
A big flosser. I'm at the dentist every 2 weeks. All right, guys. That was 215. Appreciate everybody joining in on the. Wow. I used to when I had my Invisaligns.
Okay.
I had to go every 2 weeks for my my new tray. So, but anytime Jason asks me like anything, I'm like, I'm at the dentist. So it's like a running joke that we have. Yeah. Like I'm always there. So.
And my dentist thinks I was in Japan.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And he's like, Jason, do you floss? And Jason's like, oh yeah, I do. And there's blood all over his face. Yeah, I floss all the time. Anyway, 215, Jason.
That's the sign. Is if you're bleeding when they floss, that means you don't.
Right.
Okay.
If your gums are bleeding, that means you don't floss.
They know.
They know. They know you're lying. Yeah. So. All right, guys. We will catch you on 216. See ya.